It's been a while since I did any kind of triple changer, and I kind of feel like overcomplicating this review. So let's go ahead and cover one now. In this case, it's going to be Universe Tankor, who looks suspiciously like G1 Octane. Yeah, this is another case of we can't trademark that anymore, so they used the closest name they already had a trademark on, and that just happened to be Tankor, and it seems to have stuck, mostly because no one's really clamoring for a new Octane toy. But he probably needs it now, doesn't he? So let's take a look at this deluxe class figure. In this mode, he is a cargo jet, your typical jumbo jet style vehicle. However, you might notice this is a little weirdly proportioned. The wings are extremely tiny, or the body is very fat. One or the other, I'm not necessarily able to tell. In either case, the vehicle mode just looks wrong, doesn't it? There's just like something about it. Like, I severely doubt, especially with a full cargo load, that you're going to get this whole vehicle up on these two little wings that look about half as long as they need to be. I don't know my aerodynamics or my aeronautics, but that just doesn't seem like it would get the job done. If we look at the toy itself, it's mostly cast in an off-white plastic with some black here in the center and a little bit of blue to the back, which is going to become more prominent later on. And a little bit of attention went into the wings to not only extend the black out, but give it just a little bit of the purple Octane for. And again, a little details abound, like a lot of the windshields in the front painted up individually, though it still seems like a few were skipped. I'm not sure about that. And the tail fins, which have a lot of paint on them because they are molded in blue, so pretty much all of this is painted up to match. And doesn't do too bad a job paint matching to the plastic. But yeah, the elephant in the room, again, is just, it's not the best formed jet. And I'll get to why once you get to see more of the modes, but we'll go over a little bit more. The landing gear is down here on the base, which you can tell is just a slab of gray plastic stuck to the bottom. This is going to become a little bit problematic. Now, you also notice a huge gap here in the side. There's no panel or anything covering up what is obviously a bunch of robot mode junk and engineering parts that typically wouldn't show, especially on the side of a transformer like this. And of course, in the rear, what we can assume is like the main door of the cargo hold. But yeah, you could tell it's a truck. It's the front end of a truck. So it takes quite a bit of imagination to really hold together the fact that this is some kind of vehicle that can actually take off and is actually a fully functioning jet. There's a few engineering gaps too. Like, I can never get this gap to close on mine, no matter how much I kind of wiggle it around. I know I've seen pictures of it completely closed, so maybe it's just mine, but I've always had that issue, and nothing I can really do about it. So, okay, that's about all I can say about the jet mode, so we're going to take this guy into the tanker mode, which, to do that, first, we will get these extra guns off and get the wings folded up. And here's the part people aren't going to like. This has to come off. That gives us the room to actually do the transformations. Yeah, he's a part former. I will admit, there's a lot of little issues with this toy that seem to all stem from the fact that he's just small. Like, Deluxe is really ambitious for a triple changer in the first place, especially one with two drastically different modes. So this is actually going to lead to a few problems here later on. The wings have to go in here like this. Fold all of this down and close all this up together. The wings have little tabs that they plug into, so you have to make sure all of this is lined up just right so it all comes together in a nice, tidy little bundle and holds together, like so. Now that we have what would otherwise be a combiner mode leg, Let's get the rest of him into vehicle mode. Again, this part has to come apart, pegged very tightly on mine. This piece in the front has to fold up like so. We can fold these down. It's kind of a weird hinge since it's on a diagonal. And from here, this part comes back in, reattaches, and now make sure they're tabbed in here as well as on the little hinge that it attaches to on the inside. And there we have Tankor in his tanker truck mode. Now, to start with, take nothing away from the designers. They obviously worked very hard in order to get a jet to turn into any semblance of a work truck that could actually look like it functions. So I am not taking anything away from that. That said, it's not the cleanest truck now, is it? So, I'm not trying to rag on it or anything, but it does have its flaws. I mean, of course, here we can see this move to the top. So this is where you're supposed to get the tanker element, or where the fuel is held, I assume. And then you have, of course, the truck's front half, which is now all that blue plastic that we saw before. Except all of the paint is now exposed. So windshields, grills, and side doors, all painted up quite nice. So you have some good detail there. And now, of course, all of these wheels that are exposed. 8 of them in all, though 2 of them are fake. That does give you some semblance of actual functionality. Though I will say, I've never been able to get mine to roll on those wheels. It mostly seems to be these, the fins, or not the fins, what am I talking about? The propellers on the wings actually drag on the ground, unfortunately. I've never been able to fix that or get them up high enough. So it's always been a design flaw to me. Again, this just might be problems with mine. Maybe it's just a really finicky toy and someone has a perfect example out there. But yeah, I've always had these little issues with the toy. Aside from the fact, yeah, it's, again, not the cleanest vehicle. Just like the jet mode, it sacrifices pretty heavily for the triple change gimmick. You can see a bunch of... They molded it in, so it actually does have a lot of tech detailing going on, some hoses and whatnot. And you can see some areas that a truck would have. You can see the supports down here. But for the most part, yeah, there's just a bunch of big open gaps. And you can still see the shape from the vehicle mode before. And that really, yeah, the back is just not pleasant. Now, we can boost this up a little bit, because we do have these holes here, which will be his fist holes for the guns, but he also has these 2 holes here, which the instructions don't even tell you to use, but there's no other function for them except to attach the guns like so, and actually upgrade it with smokestacks. Which does help. It does give him more of a truck-like appearance. I don't know. I kind of wish there was some kind of blue element going across here so it looked like a truck holding on to a trailer or something. I don't know. I feel like some extra paint or some better choice in what parts got molded into what might have cleaned this toy up a little bit and gotten it a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more accurate, a little bit more solid. I don't know. So that's pretty much all that can be said about the tanker mode. So I guess at this point it's just down to the robot. So let's get this off again. Hang on, I gotta get the guns off as well. There we go. Now I'm going to start by pulling all of this apart again. Now we can yank on the legs and extend them out. Your old traditional slides on the thighs to get everything outward. The windshields pop out in order to become the feet. So already we have half of our robot mode done. Get these hinged back into position. We can unfold all of that down. Yeah, I hate these diagonal hinges. It always feels weird trying to move them into position. Alright, so all that's done. We can rotate the fists like so. pop up the head on this little slide and close the chest up to lock it in place. And then we raise the wings in the back to create our final appearance. And I'll actually take this into a little bit more of a fan mode just to give it a little bit more semblance in robot form. And with this, we have our Universe Tankor / Octane in his full robot mode. And I will admit, like, the robot doesn't come together too bad considering how much he has going on. I mean, there's a bunch of vehicle mode parts left all around him, and yeah, he's got some, extra parts and kibble and such hanging off of him, but he doesn't do too bad of a job carrying it, does he? Give you a close look at the head. It is definitely of the Octane sort, though, again, this is one of those toys that's a little bit hard for me to get good picture of the head because all of his kibble likes to shade all of his facial details. You can see, yeah, it's a pretty standard Octane style head. Octane's head never really had the best definition to it, but they did a nice job capturing it, I think. Now, as you can see, most of the parts we've pretty much seen already, though they did do a decent job getting some extra paint on him. The forearms have been completely painted in purple to get more of his signature color in, and we can see up on the shoulders we have that color as well. Also, some extra silver for the chest and white paint to break up all of that black in the torso. Pretty much everything else goes to plastic coloring. There's more black exposed now, forms the most of his body, but we still have the off-white showing up in the shoulders and legs, as well as blue for the feet. So overall, he actually does do a pretty good job. He's a very colorful little guy, despite being mostly off-white and black. I'm a fan of it. I work for it pretty well. I will tell you, there's always weird things when it comes to this toy, especially when it comes to the shoulders, because official transformations have him more like this, with these pieces hinged down, shoulders pointed up. And while this does give his shoulders a wider range of movement, those super tall shoulders really don't work for me. And it puts the center of his shoulder, like the actual movement point of it, really high up above his chest. And that really never worked for me. So a lot of people always had different ways of aligning this this piece. I see people who hold him straight out to the side, so he does still have some universal range of motion, which that works well enough. But I kind of like putting them at that diagonal, which I will admit doesn't really give him the same range and posability, but it does actually give you more of his original G1 silhouette, because the way these wings work, it doesn't quite do the same thing. Oh, well, I guess you could, if you really wanted to. I don't know. Either way, you're going to lose a little bit of Octane's shape here, trying to get Tankor to resemble something a little bit more familiar to you. I don't know. He's kind of an iffy figure. So let's go ahead and get those folded back and up and out of the way, and we'll go ahead to articulation. The head does rotate, though it's very tight, and that's probably because most of the head is painted purple, making the joints a little bit tighter. Depending on how you have the shoulders, you can have upwards of full rotation at the shoulder, as well as some outward movement, as well as a weird little bit of ball jointing up here at the top. You get ball joints here at the elbows, as well as a swivel at the wrist. No waist articulation, because of how much transforming he does. You do get universal thighs, however, which do have a good range of motion, a thigh swivel, as well as a knee bend, which doesn't hit 90 degrees, but, not too bad. And that's pretty much it. His feet really don't do any kind of tilting or anything, really. So beyond this, beyond just triple changing, if you want a little bit more going on to him, you do still have those guns, of course, which you can just put into his hands as double blasters, or you can take advantage of the extra hole they have on top of each other and give him something a little bit beefier for a weapon. It's not terribly, it's not terribly good looking, but I don't know. If you want a sizable little gun blaster for him, that's not a bad choice, really. You could do worse. If you want a really weird weapon for him, let's get back to this shell piece, which actually does open up into this massive claw, or opens up farther just in case you forgot your comb and you have a presentation at work that day. Smooth it out. Just makes yourself look nice and presentable. This definitely is not G1 accurate. In the original, he would use that as a shield that pegged onto his forearm. You can't do that here. He doesn't have the peg hole for it. So instead, they come up with this massive claw weapon out of it, which is kind of strange. Not gonna lie, it's doesn't seem to fit the character much, really. It's a pretty brutal weapon for someone who's known more for scheming behind everybody's back. It's just a way of using the giant shell piece that the design of the toy made necessary. English language failed me today. I don't know, it's what it is. The original G1 Octane had something like that too, so it's, what do you expect? So that's pretty much it. That is our Universe Tankor upgraded, classics-esque Octane. I will admit, he is a deeply flawed toy. Typically when it comes to triple changers, you expect at least one mode to really suffer in order to make the other two look good. Typically, one mode looks great, one mode looks good, one mode looks... In this case, I think all three modes kind of suffer for this triple changing gimmick. The jet mode's proportions are really awkward. There's a lot of exposed parts and incoherent pieces in the tanker mode. And then the robot mode, which does look good, I will admit, does have a few issues too, like especially with the shoulder kibble and exactly how you want to arrange it. I guess in a way, multiple ways of arranging all of that really doesn't hurt it in any way. But at the same time, I don't know. It feels like it could have been done better. You take the G1 approach and make the wings part of the tanker, like the actual tanker. I don't know. This seemed like a natural way of getting rid of the wings in that mode, but I don't know. I'm not a toy designer. I feel like this should have been one or two sizes up. It's nice to have a companion piece for Astro Train, but at the same time, he really needed a little bit more size and budget to really bring his design together. So overall, it's a toy that takes a lot of imagination for its vehicle modes, but if you can get by that, he's not too bad. Just as far as triple changers go, you can do much better these days.